Hello guys, welcome to Stonestreet Farm. We're here at our nursery. These are some of our mares and foals coming in for their lunch. So this first two that are coming by, this is Cowboy Take Me Away, her McLean's Music colt. This is Saucy Dame and her Curlin colt. It's a very flashy little guy. He would love to climb into your lap if he could. Very friendly. This is graded stakes winner Fabian. This is her very first foal. He's a Curlin colt. We'll have lots of Curlins in this barn. So these guys spend the vast majority of their time outside. They do come up into the barn for a breakfast and for a lunch. So we'll watch them as they come in. Got a few different fields that you guys will be able to see here today. And we're also joined by two of our barn cats. This Ginger, this cat in the lead, this is Max. Behind him, that's his sister Lola. Those of you guys that have visited are familiar with Ginger, who lives at barn 4. These are the two that keep barn 1 free of mice. They just joined us last year, so they're two of our youngest barn cats. So all of the foals that we'll see here today, these guys were all born in January and February. These are the oldest foals that we have here on the farm. At the moment we have 48 foals. We've got vast majority of our foals are colts, just another colt heavy year. So all of these guys, we arrange our mares by their expected foaling dates. So these guys were all born around the same time by design. When the mare goes to the stallion, 2 weeks later, we can check her, see if she's in foal. We take that date she last visited the stallion and we count forward about 11 months. That's the average equine gestation period. So we can guess when she's gonna have her foal. So we group all these mares by that date. So that way they have all their foals at the same time. So these guys are all in the same developmental stages. So they can all go out into paddocks together. They can all become friends when they're out here in the herd. So that way when it's time for them to be weaned, they're with the same group of horses they've known their whole lives. So these guys will start in these smaller paddocks here, and then they'll graduate and move to the bigger fields. Catch the Moon and her Quality Road colt are clearly excited for lunch. So these two, this is Bernadetta. This is her Cantharis colt. So this is her first foal. She was a homebred, so her mare High Beautiful is in our broodmare band now. Which we love to retire fillies in our racing stable to come and join the band. That way we get to watch the families expand and grow over the generations. She's giving you guys the eye. This is Molly Morgan and her Tappet colt. So Molly Morgan's one of 19 grade 1 winners that we have. Look at the little face on this guy. What does this blaze remind you of? I think it looks like a wrench. If you guys have any questions throughout the broadcast, please let us know. This is Emerald Gal and her Ghost Zapper filly. You'll notice as these guys come up that we're really focusing on leading the foals. So we're making sure that the foals are learning their early lessons. So all the manners that they learn here are what's going to follow them when they go onto the sales ring, onto the racetrack. Essentially, we're teaching them the safest place in the world is on the right side of their handler. Max is enjoying the action. This is Catch the Moon and her Quality Road colt. So Catch the Moon is the dam of 2 graded stakes winners. First was Cocked and Loaded. She's also the dam of Gervin, who won the Haskell Stakes. So her progeny have earned over $2 million on the racetrack thus far. She's got another very, very lovely foal this year. Rachel's Valentina is due in April this year, so very soon. She's back in foal to Kirtland. Kestrel, do you mean how their hoofs are soft when they are born? We've had 48 foals so far. Yeah, I'm sorry about the wind, guys. I'm doing my best to buffer some of it for you. So it's hard not to have favorites on the farm, and this is one of my favorites. This is 50 Shades of Hay, her Medaglia d'Oro filly. She's got that typical star and snip like most famous Medaglia d'Oro mares. And 50 Shades of Hay was one of the most talented fillies in her generation. She was a multiple graded stakes winner. And both of her foals have been winners on the track so far. She's got a 3-year-old named Locally Owned, and she's got a 2-year-old in our racing stable named Extraordinary, who just won a race by 5 lengths. This is a colt from the very first crop of our champion, Good Magic. So he was born right here on the farm, Good Magic was. He went on and won the Breeders' Cup, he won the Haskell as well. This little guy is out of a stakes winner named Yes I'll Go, and he's taking Mom's name to heart. He really likes to run around. It's not uncommon to see him doing laps around Mom in the paddock. Yes, all of the horses on this farm we own, so we don't board any horses for other folks. The only places where we have client horses are at our training center in Florida. All these mares are owned by Miss Banky. We've got 127 active brood mares at the moment. 20 of those are maidens, so those are mares that'll be bred for the first time this year. We have about average of 80 foals a year. I mentioned these guys will spend the vast majority of their time outside, running up and down the hills that we have here. And yeah, we do bring them in 1 pair at a time. And they'll be groomed while they're in the barn. So these two are pretty easily recognizable. This is Ullapool, so she's the only gray mare we have in the barn. This is her McLean's Music filly. She's very rambunctious. Getting them used to all sorts of animals on the farm. And that filly, when she was born, had her tongue sticking out for the first 24 hours of her life. Just loved sticking it out for whatever reason. So when these guys come up, you'll see we'll run our hands down their legs, check them over for any kind of heat or bumps or scrapes they might have picked up in the paddock. So it lets us catch any changes in our horses and also getting them used to being handled. Just all the things that they'll need when they graduate on to their future careers. Last but not least, this is Malibu Bonnie and her Candy Ride filly. This is the very first foal that we had this year. She was born on January 14th, and she is Malibu Bonnie's first foal. So we'll let these guys go in their stall. We'll be able to go into the barn. This is one of 5 barns that we have here on the property. And we have a neat feature on each barn. So we have a second story. We store all of our hay and straw up there. We deliver it on conveyor belts. So it can all stay up there, and it has a very specific purpose. I'll show you here in the barn in a minute. And we've been, biosecurity is very important to us all times of the year, but especially now it's very critical. We've been following all the CDC guidelines. Day at the spa is doing really well, Chris, and I will give her a kiss for you. So these guys have come in for their lunch here, and you can see up in the corner, so those chutes that we have up at the top, those lead up to that second story I mentioned. So all of our hay and straw is up there, and we can drop it down into the stalls. One fortunate thing that we have here is that our stalls are very large. They're 16 by 16 foot. So most people say they're bigger than their college dorm. So what's great about that is that these mares don't have to go to a separate foaling barn. They can foal out right here in their stalls. We don't have any stallions on our property, Donna. We do have affiliate stallions, so stallions that raced in our stable. So Curlin is a big one. We've seen a couple of Curlin foals today, as well as this filly is by McLean's Music, who raced in our stables, now standing at Hillendale. And Good Magic, of course, as well. So these mares will travel to the stallions when it's time for them to be bred, and then they'll come back to the farm. They're never gone for very long. So on each of the stall doors here in the barn, we've got some information on our mares and the foal that she had this year. So up at the top, that's her name. So this is Ullapool. So she's by Langford. She's out of Gray Traffic. So Langford is her sire, and Gray Traffic is her dam. You can see her birthday in 2009. And then some info on the filly she had this year. So her dark bay or brown filly by McLean's Music. It's her birthday. And then she's booked to Good Magic. So that's who she'll have a full buy for next year. And down here we also have, so this is the field that she goes into, and the portions that she gets for breakfast and for lunch. Somebody wanted a closer look at you guys. And all of the wood inside the barns, this is all furniture grade oak. So as John Hammond would say, spare no expense. So we do bring our hay and straw in. But don't worry, it doesn't go to waste. So we keep some for ourselves for composting, as well as we sell it to mushroom farms. They use as fertilizer. It's very popular for them. So right now, these mares have their food bowls up at the top of their stalls. Not focusing for you guys. So that way the foal isn't exposed to mom's food. So she's not quite ready to eat grain like mom is just yet. But as she gets older, we'll lower the food bowl. She can start getting exposed to grain, kind of the slow introduction to her weanling life. Saucy Dane. He's very friendly, this little colt. Yes, they'll go back in, or they'll go back out in a little bit. So they'll come in just for a little. The mare will have their lunch. The foals may take a nap like this one. And then they'll go back outside. Yes, the stalls do have back doors. So it's part of our ventilation system. So we're able to open up the sides, let some more air through. We also have breezeways over here, so we can open up more doors to let air come through. So that way when it's hot, we can have a breeze coming through. And then when it's warm, we can close all the doors. Sorry, when it's cold, we can close all the doors and trap the warmth inside. Foals are usually 5 to 6 months of age when we start weaning. But we do determine that based on the maturity of the foal. So foals that are a little more independent might be the first. And some that might need mom a little longer will stay with her longer. And we don't take all the mares out at once, so we'll leave behind a couple mares to make sure all the foals feel secure, make sure they stay with their routine. We'll come through on this side. So the mares, when they retire from our broodmare band, we keep them. So we have about 11 retired mares at the moment. One of the notable names in that group is Maggie Hawks. So she's the dam of a Fleet Alex. And she has 2 daughters that are still in our broodmare band now. We got Storm and Maggie's Melody. Yes, I'm a Looker is in this barn. We'll see her in a little bit. Of course, all of our 2-year-olds are big names. Hi, pretty shades. We have 5 barns. Usually the baby will stay behind, so we're kind of slowly introducing the babies to do a gradual separation between the mare and foal. So when the mare goes to this breeding shed, the foal will stay behind. Maggie's doing very well. Maggie Hawk. Yes, if you guys are curious where Rachel Alexandra is, she doesn't live in this barn, but we may visit her in a future live session if you all are interested. My baby. You can see the mentioned checking legs when they come in from the paddock. So that is I'm a Looker and her Pioneer of the Nile colt. Just a few left to come in. Yes, the barn is usually this clean, but we've been, especially focusing on keeping it nice and sanitized with all the virus going around. So after the foal is born, the mare will go through what's called a foal heat. So she'll go back into season. And typically the foal heat is kind of unpredictable, so we'll let the mare go through that cycle before we start looking to breed her again. And the horse's cycle is about 21 days. This is another good magic colt. He's out of Storm and Maggie. So Storm and Maggie is Maggie Hawk's daughter. So she's a half-sister to a Fleet Alex. Rachel's Valentina is not in this barn. She's has not had her foal yet, so she's due later in April. We have far more colts than we do fillies this year. Hi, Winding Way. The Winding Way here is a full sister to Kauai Katie, who raced in our racing stable. She's a graded stakes winner. It's not common, Jody, for the mares to refuse their babies. Yes, so this is I'm a Looker. We were just visiting with Winding Way. See, we've got about 30 more left to foal, Rosie. And the colts and the fillies will stay in their groups, even once the mares are weaned. Since they've known each other, they have comfort with one another, so they'll stay together. They usually don't get separated until they're over at our yearling farm. This is Comedy and her Medaglia d'Oro colt. Donna, we are in Lexington. We're off Old Frankfort Pike. And these last two to come in, this is Innie Minnie. She's got a Pioneer of the Nile filly over there in the corner. Catherine, we do what's called gradual separation. So we don't take all the mares away at once. We'll slowly take a few pairs out at a time and leave some mares behind that will kind of keep the foals in the routine, give them some comfort. We do tours, so we're delayed, of course, because of everything that's going on at the moment. But we do tours here at our nursery farm, as well as at our second mare facility, where we have our retired mares. Samantha Nicole is not foaled yet, so she's due in May. This is essentially her hard-spun colt. We don't have any American Pharoah babies yet. We have 2 Pioneer babies in this barn. We've got a few others on the farm. So do you all have any last-minute questions before we wrap up? This is essentially in her hard-spun colt. Hi, baby. So their daily schedule at the moment, they spend the vast majority of their time outside. They really only come up here into the barn for a breakfast and for a lunch. We'll check them over, pick their feet, groom the mares off a little bit, and then they'll go right back outside. So we really focus on letting the horses be horses here. Rachel's Valentina has not had her foal yet. She's due in April. And yes, that's our second mare facility at the Adena Springs location. So that's where we have our retired mares as well as our mares that are being bred for the first time, so our maiden mares. We don't have any frosted babies yet. Yes, we have 3 Pioneer of the Nile babies, fortunately. Yeah, we have lots of Curlin foals. We support Curlin very heavily. I think we've got over 20 Curlin foals that we either have on the farm now or that we're expecting later in the year. So I hope you guys enjoyed your tour. So we'll hopefully be able to show you guys some more behind the scenes action here on the farm. Maybe next time we'll visit with Rachel Alexandra. So you all have a great day. Stay safe. Thank you for joining us.